Hello, friends. I'm Andrea Morris, and welcome to another edition of Spill the Wine, our podcast, which is about wine. And today we are actually making a return visit to Cave Spring because I want to have a conversation with Gabe DeMarco, who is the winemaker. And you have so many exciting new things going on here at Cave Springs that I think it's really important to talk about the things that you're doing and the effect that it's going to have on the wine industry. And of course, taste the effects once we get to that point. But first of all, Gabe, thank you for being here. Welcome to Spill the Wine.
Well, thank you for having me, Andrew. This is really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what's also exciting? Your new yeast strains.
Yes.
Which is like so mind-blowing. And I'd like you to kind of explain what the importance of these new yeast strains is for the wine industry.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun one because if you're a wine geek or enthusiast, I think it is quite meaningful. And if you're not a wine person, you're like, who cares? So we are wine geeks. And so here we are talking. And we wild ferment 100% of our table wine. And we have done that now for over 7 years. And where we ran into a limitation for really exploring true terroir was when we went to make traditional method sparkling and sweet wine. Those environments for wild yeast are very difficult. Not that you cannot do it, but the secondary fermentation for sparkling wine, traditional method sparkling wine, is very difficult for like a natural yeast culture to achieve consistent product with. And then the sweet wine, both the late harvest and the ice wine, again, you can do it, but the environment is very challenging for a natural culture and can lead to inconsistent qualities or increased risk of spoilage. And so rather than accept our fate, we started this journey just around 8 years ago, which was to identify, isolate, and validate our own yeast strains. Because if you look at what we purchase, and there's nothing, of course, inherently wrong with inoculating. Of course, the world inoculates, and we do it with bread, beer, and yeast. I said bread, beer, and wine. Sorry, I misspoke there. But we want to do wine from Niagara with zero international inputs. And so, with that philosophy and thinking, we would need to find our own yeast for inoculation. And so we went on this journey. And it took 4 years to find a really a long-term partner in the research. And funnily enough, it was at Brock University right in Niagara at Covey, the Cool Climate Enology and Viticultural Institute. We also have a federal development grant that kind of has funded the research. And in the first year, I'm going to go on a little bit of a geeky tangent here because all global peer-reviewed literature would state that if you were in a winery building that has been inoculated a single time, there is no such thing as wild yeast fermentations. They are, in fact, cultures that have been inoculated or used in the building prior to that attempt to do wild fermentation. And we had that open conversation with Brock, Debbie Ingalls, the professor and our research collaborator at Covey. And we kind of went into this knowing that we were probably going to find a yeast culture that we had used in the past, because all peer-reviewed literature states that that is what's going to happen. But what I was seeing in our wild fermentations was that every tank had different kinetics, had different behaviors, fermented faster, slower, aromatic profiles were different. So we went in on this journey. And in the first year, we found 600 strains of yeast.
Wow.
Now, I will further the geekiness, because we are looking for yeast that are strong fermenters that will finish a ferment to dry. And the general way of thinking about wild yeast is they start at the beginning. As the alcohol increases in the juice through fermentation, they eventually lose out, and you finish with Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is the most utilized fungal species for fermentation across all fermentation, beer, bread, and wine. So our research was designed to find a finishing strain. So we tested early, middle, and late. And the yeast had to be present both early, middle, and late for it to even be considered viable for this research. And so when I say we found 600 strains, I mean, we found 600 strains at the end of fermentation, which again, debunks kind of what you would know in literature. And so at the time, Brock had the knowledge and the analytical equipment to identify to the strain level the strains that we have identified. So we have identified so far of the 600, we've identified 6. Saccharomyces euvarum, which is a species of yeast that is also very good at fermenting. And we have categorized them there. We have 6 strains, never before identified. And we still have to categorize the 588 strains of Cerevisiae that we found. Now Cubby does have the tools now to do that. And so in the coming years, we'll start to see if we actually, on top of the 6 strains of euvarum that we found, if we in fact have other unique strains of Cerevisiae in the building. So this is just, the story continues.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot of fun, right? So, but we've done in the last 3-4 years with Brock, we have taken those 6 strains and we've validated them and we've followed their fermentations. And we're very comfortable that these are very viable commercial strains. So we have now introduced that into the elements of our winemaking that we wanted to use domestic microbes with, which is sparkling, traditional method sparkling and sweet wine. So this year, for the first time in history, I guess you could say, which is crazy because the wine industry is old, we have used these 6 strains of Saccharomyces euvarum that we found in our 1972 planting of Chardonnay to ferment our base wine. And it was exceptionally successful. And we're doing it now again with Chardonnay in table wine, we're doing more research with Brock, so more of the research around the yeast behavior during fermentation. And then this winter we'll be doing trials with the ice wine as well. But we're very confident it's going to go well because we've done, again, research on the strength and vigor of these yeast. So stay tuned. yeah. So there's a good kind of geeky rant, if that's okay.
No, it's perfect. That's like, you know what? I love the geeky rant because I think the more that you know about wine, the more you appreciate it, and also understanding how important it is to keep things local as well. It just all affects. It's a continuing effect.
Yeah.
And also, I was thinking as you were speaking that it's really cool that you were saying that people think that would never happen, but it's like if you just stick with the rules, you're never going to be able to break them and to find new things, right?
Thank you for saying that. That's exactly it. Like we know so little about what we don't know, and so until we challenge status quo, we won't ever break those molds. And that's my motivation. Really, is my mentors, Angelo Pavan, Len Penichetti, the founders of this business, who challenged status quo. Right? Like this region exists because the pioneers challenged status quo. If they did not, we wouldn't be sitting here talking.
Exactly.
And so now we're in an established region. And so what is the boundary of challenging status quo? And it's this kind of stuff. It's like, so this is where we're at. We're just continue to push that boundary,
which has
got us the region that we're sitting in now.
It's also significant for me that it's not just wine. Like that's when you mentioned bread. What were the other things?
Bread, beer, and wine, the major fungus species, Cerevisiae, yeah.
I didn't even think about bread too. Like that's...
Yeah, we could use this to ferment bread, almost certainly.
Yeah, that's crazy.
yeah, wine bread.
Why not? Yeah.
That'd be great.
And beer, again, the vigors of those fermentations and what you're looking for in yeast and those in those environments are, I'm sure, slightly different. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in bread fermentation and or beer fermentation, but I do know enough that they're, the pHs are different, all the chemistry are a little bit different. So,
but just this idea of Canadian made.
Yeah, exactly.
Your bread could be 100% inoculated by Canadian yeast. You know what I mean? It's just like you can almost guarantee, say it's Canadian made.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty cool. So cool. And that's why I wanted to talk with you today, to get that out there for the world to hear that you're doing such amazing things here.
Oh, geez, thank you. I mean, it's an honor, to be honest, to be in the position I'm in with the team I work with, to be given the trust of the founders. It really is an honor if I'm being completely honest. I'm a Cave Spring fanboy first and winemaker second. So, I know you were probably going to bring it up, but can I talk about the vessels too?
Of course. I was gonna segue into that, but you beat me to it. So it's great.
You got me going. I'm excited now. So
yeah, well, because it's not just it's not just the yeast, but they're also Cave Spring is also like doing some really cool things when it comes to vessels. If you listen to the podcast and you listen to the episode that we did with Hidden Bench, we talked about the cement vessels that they use, and you're also following that, but making it again more local.
Yeah, so I will never pretend or state that we were the first to use concrete in Niagara or in the winemaking world. That's just not true. Concrete has been a form of fermenting and aging wine for I don't even know how long, a long time. But what we have done here, which is quite different, is again on the ethos of 100% domestic ingredients, is to make a vessel from domestic aggregate. And so what we've done is taken domestic concrete and sand, and we've integrated physical stone, so dolomitic limestone from the top of the escarpment. And so we have made a chemical-free, domestically sourced vessel that has physical dolomitic limestone in it. And that took over 3 years. We thought it would take 6 months, and to get that integrated into the matrix and not have leaks and to be like sound, it took just over 3 years. And we're there though. And so the fun part is that base wine that I mentioned, that it was fermented with their own yeast. Also, it was fermented in a dolomitic limestone vessel. And so this wine is fermented in, aged in, and then we'll do our secondary fermentation with our own yeast. It will be a commercial wine that is with zero international inputs.
That's amazing.
Yeah, which is so exciting to state. And that's really our goal. We're not poo-pooing any traditional winemaking approach. Of course, we have an amazing barrel library that I am so fortunate to have, and that allows us to make these amazing wines that we do consistently year over year. But the whole goal, we've mentioned, is to push boundaries and keep forging forward and challenging status quo. So, I think you can see where we're going here. We envision a future where a big percentage of our cellar is full of domestic aggregate vessels, and we're making a substantial amount of wine in them. And, so we have unique viticulture that we've fine-tuned for our region, which would have techniques and practices separate from our European counterparts. We have our own microbes, and we have our own vessels. And so we have fully unique wine. And now the wine has to taste good, of course, because, the trials that we've done so far would show that they do. And so we just keep on forging forward and having these conversations.
And that's just so mind-blowingly great. I can't wait to try those. Are you going to refer to them as béton, like they usually do with the concrete?
I don't even know. I mean, we joke about what we're going to call them, but we don't actually know. We built them to be convenient, actually, because concrete historically are these big vessels that are fixed and heavy. And so one of the concrete designs, in collaboration with Liquid Quarry as our partner in this, was to make it light enough to move with a standard forklift. So a single vessel full of wine will be movable and stackable as if you were using barrels.
Oh, so they're not going to be big, huge?
No, they're actually small format, because you're looking at trying to, again, understand what we've learned so far. Now, Cave Spring is so just to, I guess, to go back a little bit. So Cave Spring, the brand is built around the place called Cave Spring. So the site is Cave Spring. The brand is Cave Spring. We are a singular place. But I think part of the success story of the brand as a whole is we built around a place, and place means everything in wine. So for us, working with Cave Spring, the site Cave Spring, we have a natural acidity energy in the wine. So we have found that small format barrels, barrique, puncheon, and cask, of course, we do have beautiful casks, work well for us. So when we thought about the concrete, we wanted to build on what we know versus going with what is established normal. And so what we know is small format works really well for us. And so we built these things around what we know, not what we're expected to do.
Right.
Yeah.
But why not just, if you're going to be breaking barriers, make it so it fits with what you do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So again, the yeast research is globally novel, which is insane to say out loud because it's exciting. And so the vessels we're building are also pretty darn unique. And now there are a couple of small format concrete vessels in the world, but they are pretty darn rare. So exciting.
And it's cool that you're introducing all this new technology and these new ideas into a place like Cave Spring that has so much history. And listener, if you're if you're hearing some noise in the background here, it's because we're in the cellar.
Yeah.
We're in the underneath the tasting room in Cave Spring, and there's so much activity going on down here. But it's also like it's so historic as well. This area is like when you can come visit and go and see some of the rooms down here, and it's like taking a step back in time.
It is. The building that we make wine in is over 120 years old in historic Jordan Village. The vineyards are 7 kilometers west on the site called Cave Spring. And so we built the brand around the site. And then we've always made the wines here prior to 1993. I could be wrong by a year or two, give or take. Maybe 92, but I think it was 93 when they made it law that you needed 5 acres of land associated with the winery. We were established before that. Our first vintage was 86. So we had the winery and the vineyard separate. That's why we don't have our vineyards attached to the building. But so any winery past that date has a vineyard right attached to the winery. So the funny thing about this old building is it's been used for winemaking in its entirety. Now, not with Vitis vinifera, but with like domestic table grapes turned into wine. And we know that history, won't go back to it. But so the wine coming out of here wasn't like highbrow, like revered wine. But what funny thing about it is this building has been used, there's floor yeast here, there's all these microbes all over the place. I can grow floor in specific corners if I would like. If I leave a barrel in the back, like south corner, I get floor. It's awesome. I've used it to my advantage many times.
Wow.
First, it scared me, and then I realized, wait a second, why do I fear this? This is like I can grow floor here, because they used to make Canadian sherry here, right? So this is the reason why we kind of forged forward on this 100% wild fermentation path is because I felt comfortable that the building was full of its own microbes, and we just had to harness that, And so we've done that. It's been a fun journey for sure. I remember some of the early conversations with Ange. We were nervous, but we did it anyway.
It's so cool. We're sitting in history while you're creating history.
Yeah.
So what are we going to start with, Gabe?
Well, we have the base wine. So it is base wine. So if you've ever had base wine, you pick it with a potential alcohol of 11. So that you can ferment the second fermenting and finish with 12. And so it's lean and mean base wine, but it is the one inoculated with our yeast. And then we have beside it a finished Blanc de Blanc, which is kind of the foundation of our sparkling program from Chardonnay. And then we have the 2024 CSV Riesling. So beside the 2020, now the 24, why that's so special is we just put that blend together 4 days ago. That the vessels that it was fermented and aged in, we emptied them to fill them with this year's juice. And so that has never been tried yet. So I hope you enjoy it. And then the 2020 is a wine that I really like pouring for people. And then 2 other wines are the Gamay CSV and the Cab Franc CSV. And for the fans of Cave Spring, you heard it right, CSV associated with red. So we feel like we're there. Vineyard age, viticulture, winemaking. We've never called red wine CSV. We've held that moniker for Riesling, Chard, and Sparkling. And we feel like we're there with our red wine. So every new release of red at the highest level will be now carrying the CSV moniker. So I brought the first Cab Franc CSV and the first Gamay CSV.
Wow.
So
I feel
stuff.
very honored. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is great. Yeah. Well, let's get to tasting.
Okay.
So first we're going to start off with the base wine.
Yes. So this is aging in the dolomitic limestone vessel. It's our dolomitic limestone concrete vessel. Pop. Yeah. And then this is the Blanc de Blanc, which is at 100% Chardonnay, some barrel fermenting and aging. And then our goal is 3 years on the lease, but sometimes we're fortunate to have enough market demand. It doesn't quite hit 3 years.
It's a nice conundrum to have.
It is. Yeah. That's why I say it's definitely a nice problem sometimes.
Yeah. The base wine does have a nice little nose on it though.
When it first finished fermenting, the very tropical, very expressive. And then now it's kind of leveled out, which is nice to see, actually.
There's still a little tropical in there.
I agree. My nose is the most important asset. You can smell microbial taint. You can smell like reduction taint. You can smell if like residual sugar. Well, technically, you can't smell residual sugar, but you can. The aromatics that come with that are different. But the one thing about our yeast that have been very intriguing in the analytical data is that they produce a good amount of glycerol. So their byproduct is ethanol and glycerol. So these wines, they have really good viscosity. So we'll see if this shows.
It's interesting to taste it at that level.
Mm-hmm.
Because you really have to kind of like go, what is this going to become?
Yeah.
As opposed to judging it on what it is now, which is very lemony.
Mm-hmm.
It's like almost like drinking lemonade.
Yeah, it's sort of like with vin jaune or with like
Viognier or
something young and acidic. Excuse me. But that's why I figured we'd bring a finished sparkling so you can see where it ultimately will go.
Yeah, which is fun to taste it like in the baby stage.
Well, and the true test of the new microbes will be, can it do the secondary fermentation, right? Can it get to this, which is a finished bottle of sparkling wine, traditional method. And we think it can. We'll find out, though, this winter.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. We might have to come back and do an episode 3 with you.
I love it. Well, you're welcome.
It's so delicate with the bubbles.
It does. Ange and Ilya, like a longtime assistant winemaker at Cave Spring, it really, when they first started to make sparkling before I was here, they did a lot of experimenting with Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, different percentages of both, and just realized that for our site, for what we do, like Blanc de Blanc is like the best expression of terroir. We just kind of leaned into that, and just keep on trying to do it at a high level.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's just, I feel really privileged to be able to taste the new yeast, like in that baby form. It's so cool.
It's pretty fun. It fermented super well. It was a very strong fermenter, fast, efficient, and that's what, I guess when you want an inoculated yeast, that's what you would like.
And how much time will it take for that to get to the point of the Blanc de Blanc? You're saying several years. Then you're going to.
Well, we're pretty excited to trial this thing at the secondary level. So what we would usually do with our table wines, our sparkling wine program, is we leave them to age sur lie for 6 to 8 months, and then we would do the secondary fermentation in the late spring. But with this, I don't know if I can wait. So we'll probably, I haven't tied to Ilya yet. We haven't kind of worked out the strategy, but in my mind, I'm thinking we'll start to work on this in February. And so that gets us into secondary fermentation sooner. And we'll start to visit it as a finished wine after 1 year on lees. We'll give it like a full year, but we won't give it 2, 3, or 4. We'll give it a year, like a solid statured minimum.
Yeah.
And start seeing if we can finish it.
I love that.
Yeah.
That then I don't have to wait.
Yeah, no one has to wait. We don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. It's a pretty cool area of wine. I have to say, like the way you make it, the story behind how they discovered to do it, why they did it, like it's all, and it's delicious.
And again, I always say this: the more that you know about wine, the more you know about the process. It's just so. I think I enjoy it so much more because I appreciate the work and the mindset that goes into it. So
it is.
How did they discover it? Is that a short story or is that a long?
Oh, it's I would be probably like butchering like the finer details, but of course in France and Champagne, how to make palatable wine from underripe grapes in northern France, and they just discovered. Yeah, and I don't want. Yeah, it's one of the famous houses. It's Dom Perignon, I believe, but I could be wrong on that. But
they were kind of like how you were saying before about pushing boundaries. That's what they were doing in a sense, because they're like, well, what do we do with these?
And so here we go.
Sparkling was made.
Yeah. And so I mean, I have a map of the European wine regions in my office, and of course, I'm a bit of a wine geek, but also for me, it's inspiration. I've said this before, but I look at that map and I think, why do those places matter? And they matter because over time they've generated and created a story that is authentic to each individual place on the map. And really, that's what we should be trying to do here, like forging past our the globally established norms to what is not discriminating against some of this obviously global collaboration and conversation and sharing of knowledge, but we should really be challenging all status quo and forging forward to our own completely unique identity, because our terroirs are different, our heat accumulation is different, all these things are different. We have similarities to other places, but when you get to the nitty gritty, we are completely unique, and we are a 100% viable viticultural zone. Like we are not any better or worse than any place that is better known than us. We are just not as well known. This is a 100% viable viticultural zone. It is the largest east of the Rockies on the continent, and we should just start proudly screaming that from the hilltops.
Well, that's the reason for this podcast, my friend.
I love it.
To scream it from the hilltops.
Thank you for doing what you do.
And the other I was just thinking while you were speaking about that is we always talk about like the Burgundian style wines, and we talk about like Italian wines and all that. But I think that I envision years from now, like it'll be like the Ontario style, and
I really hope so. I know again, it's all generational and foundational. You take the people before you and you build on that, and then you build it. So it's like we're all taking steps. And the sad part really is it's generational. Like we're not going to get there by the end of my career or the end of the people. It's everyone before me, during me, after me. Like we all need to keep.
Think of all those young winemakers at Niagara College and at Brock that are gonna you're setting the bar for them to actually want to even achieve that and go higher.
I hope so. Like Len set that for me, and I would like to do the same.
Well, there you go. See,
yeah.
So we have some more little samples to try out here. New wines that we haven't had yet.
The 24 CSV and the 2020.
I'm really excited about that.
I am too, for you to try this actually. So bone dry Riesling, we really, the journey to dry Riesling. So Cave Spring, we like to say we specialize in dry Riesling in the region. And that didn't happen, it was intentional, but also kind of by accident when we started moving down the journey of wild yeast. We started small and we slowly grew the volume. And as we grew the volume and started wild fermenting more and more and more, we started the wines didn't need residual sugar for texture and weight. They had it. And we found that we kept naturally going drier and drier. And we ended up making dry Riesling. When we started the process, we have 7 Rieslings. We had 5 of them were off dry and 2 were dry. And now we have 5 dry and 2 off dry. And so, the residual sugar is natural, of course, from halted fermentations and blending. But we ended up kind of dry as a consequence of our journey down the wild fermentation path. And of course, that is with viticulture, because you can't really make legitimate textured dry Riesling without legitimately ripe Riesling. And that requires viticultural intention. Riesling, to ripen it, is like ripening Pinot Noir. It's very difficult. We think of Pinot as thin skin and these tight clusters, and they break down right as they're getting ripe. Well, Riesling is kind of the same. When it gets ripe, you have these big tight clusters and the skins get soft and they just start breaking down. So to get them past that breakdown point that we're used to in Niagara, which directs our style of wine in Niagara, we needed to adapt our viticulture, and we've done that. And so, when we did that, we had to kind of accept that we may end up making Riesling that isn't typical, that isn't what is expected. But then we realized, wait a second, isn't that the point?
Exactly.
If we need to do Operation X in the vineyard to get fully ripe Riesling here, and then it tastes different, well, and that's just what it means to grow and make Riesling in Niagara. And that is the style. So we just decided to let it be. And the Riesling, this ripened fruit first is the ethos for all our decision making in the vineyard, not what we're trying to make stylistically. So first ripe fruit, and then the wine after, because if the fruit is ripe, the wine will be good. And that's how we roll across everything.
And that's great.
It's
because
exciting.
You don't want to always be repeating things. It's like you're changing it and changing people's idea of what Riesling is as well, because people have always thought Riesling is really sweet. Yeah. And it was initially, and that's particularly in this area. And now it's evolving and changing, and climate change has a lot to do with that as well. And the understanding of the grapes and the vineyards, it's like, I love the evolution of it.
Now, I will say, the region is 100% viable without climate change. It is, in my opinion, and it is really decisions in grape growing that lead to styles in winemaking. So if you're bringing in Riesling at a specific ripeness point, then that's going to dictate the style of wine you can make. You can't make dry Riesling from underripe Riesling, but you can make off-dry Riesling. And so it's forgiving in that capacity. So if we do really want to push the envelope on truly structured, muscular dry Riesling that you get in some of the best Riesling regions on the planet, we need to rethink the way we grow grapes. Mm-hmm. And that is with or without climate change. The heat units are here. The reason peaches, plums, wine grapes, those are all viable due to our special climate that we have between the lake and the escarpment. So we can't just lean in, we're doing better wine because of climate change. I'd like to think it's because we've learned. And I think that we need to keep learning more. We need to push more because we can do, I think we can do better, generally speaking. I don't want to, yeah.
Cool. Well, I kind of cheated and tried this.
I can't remember which one I poured. I mixed up which one I poured.
You did
in what
this.
Glass.
Well, this one in my glass is the CSV 24.
Okay, I think I have the 20 in my hands. I'll do 24.
And I love trying wine in its infancy.
It's
because you just have to use your imagination and go, what is this going to be?
Yeah, it's all there, but it's a bit disjointed right now. Like it has the muscle up front, has acidity in the back, but they're not talking. And I just think they just came off their lees, and it's just sitting in a tank waiting to go to bottle. So it's like, I look forward to trying this in a couple of years.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Because it's like, as a baby, it's got a really nice citrus Riesling kind of. Yeah.
It spent almost 10 months without any sulfur in cask and puncheon. And then it's still but fresh. It's full 100% malolactic fermentation on it, not for some popular direction, but because it sat without sulfur for almost a year and that happened. But that doesn't dominate the profile. It's still fresh. It's still,
Yeah, I think down the road we'll have to get Spill the Wine approved stickers to put on your label.
Anytime. I love it.
And now I'm looking at the 2020 Riesling.
I love this wine because 2020 was this very hot and dry year, almost to a fault in a lot of ways. It was too dry and maybe too hot. It was one of those extreme years. And this wine is still it is nearly 14% alcohol with a pH of 3. So speak of the site Cave Spring is where in the world can you get that alcohol and that acidity? It would be the envy of any winemaker from any so this is very unique snapshot in time, which is come together from a set of variables in a specific vintage. So I love the way that this shows 2020.
Yeah, it's very delicate as opposed to it is very delicate, but it's also got so much flavor to it. Again, a little bit of citrus, but I'm also tasting more tropical too.
Oh, cool! Yeah, that's maybe just from the heat of 20, just the ripeness level, right?
Yeah, because it was such a great year for grapes, a crappy year for humans, but
yeah. The warm wild ferments, you get these during the fermentation, these this allspice and these ground these almost autumn aromatics, and then when the wine is finally done ferment and cools down, it ends all that elegant fruit comes back. And then you get some earthy text, some rounded textures.
Yeah.
Counter to what you would think what happens when you ferment Riesling near 30. It's
I like the earthiness of it though. I like that. It's almost you're almost tasting the land, but that doesn't. I know that doesn't translate if you're listening and you haven't had it and you're like, oh my God, does that taste like dirt? It doesn't, but you have that feel of the that sense of place.
Yeah, I love that because I find that all the wines, because they all come from the same stretch of land, they have a salty texture, you could almost chew them, and that we don't add that to the wine. That's from place. So whether it's Chardonnay, Riesling, Gris, any red grape, there's a texture to these wines from the terroir.
Do you have a favorite wine to make?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh God, Riesling, I have to say, I came to winemaking as a Cab Franc geek, just as an enthusiast in my past life and restaurants but I have to say, Riesling, I feel we're just scratching the surface on what we can do with Riesling here. It is some of the stuff we've been able to do in the last half dozen years, even despite what we've done prior to, which is still insane. And there's so much potential for the depth of flavors, to get again that level of ripeness in the 2020 and acid structure, all natural. We can just go crazy with it.
And you have so many varieties of Riesling here as well, so that gives you a lot to play with too.
Yeah, exactly. The different sites across the peninsula. I mean, we have 10 sub-appellations. Am I reading that statement correctly? When you say different varieties of Riesling?
Yeah.
The different locations and sub-apps? Yeah, we have, you have to get to, I always say, find your favorite variety, say it's Riesling, and of course, drink some Cave Spring, but also explore the sub-apps. Get to know what Riesling tastes like from the 10 different sub-apps, because they're all different. Closer proximity to the lake or Niagara River, elevation, distance from the lake. All these things play factor to the flavor profile, the ripening patterns. If you look at a scientific map, the ending accumulation is very similar, but the way in which they accumulate is very different through the season. So what is beside the lake and what is 4 kilometers off the lake on the Beamsville Bench are going to be different. The soils are different. The way like the wind blows is different. And so explore your favorite variety across all 10 sub-apps.
And we've had those tastings where we've tasted from one vineyard that's right next to another vineyard, and the wine has tasted completely different, even with that literally like maybe 100 meters. Mm-hmm. And I love that about this region. And I'm sure it's like that in any wine region, really, that, the soil plays so much of a part in how the wine tastes. It is
this crazy mystery, like how or why it works. And science has tried to identify the minutia of how, like identify the marker, but that they don't exist because it's just the place. You just have to accept that that's the way it is,
Something I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned it twice, and I was hoping you could help me better understand the significance of it, because you mentioned it's a very dry and high acidity or low acidity. I can't remember.
So the pH is low. The acidity is moderate to high. So that like the acids, the organic acids there's a good amount of them.
Yeah.
Which would create a low pH.
But it sounded like it's very difficult to do that because you mentioned it twice, but I was like, maybe you could explain.
Yeah. So in the world of wine, so what happens in grapes? They ripen, and at a certain point of ripeness, the grape natural course is to start dropping acid. It's just because their ultimate goal is for a bird to eat the fruit, and then they poop their seeds and they spread the genetic material, and they keep propagating. So the natural course of ripeness is for the sugars to hit, and then skins to ripen, or phenolic ripeness as we refer to in the industry, and then the acids drop. What the beauty thing about our climate is, if you're working on the right site, the right viticulture, and the right variety, we have a cool climate. Now, the cool climate is a misnomer because it makes people think that we're not warm enough. But what cool climate really refers to is the transition from spring to summer and summer to fall. In a cool climate, they are fast. In the springtime, it's going to be 10 degrees Celsius, and the next week it's 35, and it's 35 for 3 months, and then it's like 1 week to the next, it goes from 30 and it's 10, and then it never gets warm again. That is like a cool climate. And so we have this very hot, like truncated season. And so what happens with that is you play your cards right, and you manage for quality or quantity. You get all that ripeness, and before the natural course of acid drop comes, the season kind of ends. So you get this natural acidity that the world would envy, or that's what the world's looking for. And so we often talk of cool climates and hot climates and all these things. Hot climates have the opposite problem. They have too much sugar ripeness, and the acid drops, and they're managing that winery however they do. And the best sites probably don't have to manage it, but like the lesser sites do. And in cool climate, they have the opposite problem, which is too much acid and not enough sugar. And the best sites don't have that problem with the best managers, and then the lesser sites and managers do. Did I go too far down?
No. That makes
I'm starting to think
sense.
about ice wines but that's digressing. I feel like.
But we had a colder spring this year, so how does that affect what you're doing?
Yeah, you're touching on we were just talking about that a lot, because the vintage is actually quite unique. Like we had a very cool spring, like a very cool and wet spring, and then we had a very hot, dry summer. And through the summer, we thought that the hot, dry summer would kind of surpass and catch us up to the cool spring. But it did not. We actually have a very normal little harvest window here. Fortunately, it's been very dry. So we had the cool, wet spring, which slowed the growth. And then we had the hot summer, which sped the growth up. There's a lot of water in the ground early, but then did not rain. The plants ran out of water, and then ended up in drought condition, which then stalled sugar accumulation. And so we ended up back into like a normal harvesting pattern. And thankfully, we were gifted with a great dry, long fall. So we were able to have that time. So we've landed on is through circumstance and Mother Nature's kindness is like very good sugar and skin ripeness in this very unusual series of events. So yeah, it could have been disastrous, but it wasn't disastrous. And the drought could have been disastrous, but it wasn't disastrous. It's just all come together nice. Yeah.
Thankfully,
yeah, because Mother Nature's our boss. I like to say that. Mother Nature's always my boss.
Yeah, as much as you plan, it's all dependent on Mother Nature.
Yeah, we plan for the worst because Mother Nature always throws curveballs.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, I always think of 2021 and all the rain we had that fall, and the effect that had on the wine industry.
2021 was very stressful. Yeah, very stressful year for sure. Thank in that vintage though, thank goodness for the killer summer. Because we had that amazing spring, amazing summer, and then the fall hit. And so if we had like a bad spring or one or both bad, it just would have been a lost year, But we didn't. We had that kind of the beautiful circumstance leading into the tough harvest. We were able to manage some pretty special wines.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, now we get to try some red CSVs, which I'm very excited about.
So some fun stuff. So for the high end reds, CSV red, and we do foot stomping. So not all of it, but a significant portion of these wines I foot stomp. And then we cask immerse for 30 plus days, depending on the vintage. And they spend 2 years in barrel. No new oak touches this, just because nothing really against new oak. We just found in time that we found new oak overpowers the fruit from CSV, and so not the CSV, but from the Cave Spring Vineyard site. And so we've just over time realized that we don't need new oak for structure and weight. We have the weight in the fruit naturally. So we use really old oak, not for trends, but just for what we've observed for our fruit and time. Yeah.
So we're going to start with the Gamay.
Gamay, yeah.
And this is the first CSV Gamay?
This is the first CSV Gamay. Gamay is a fun one. I feel like Gamay, I think we in Niagara we can push Gamay. It really is suited for here. And I really want us to push it. Like push ripeness, push style. And really, I think we can do that with Gamay effortlessly, actually, if we just all decide to do it.
Because Gamay is one of those wines that it's the Burgundian as well, which does well in this area with the Chardonnay and the Pinot Noir. But it's also a wine, I think Gamay is underrated as a wine.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that initially. When I first started this podcast, I always said, I always thought of Gamay as like a gateway red and one that was like throwaway. You drink Gamay when you don't really like red, and then it's like your baby steps, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm really appreciating it and seeing how well this area does with the Gamay. And it's a wine that I think is absolutely beautiful and has so much structure to it as well. Yeah,
that's a great observation, actually. I think not every red wine needs to be muscular and massive. this
big and ballsy.
Yeah, this has great acid structure. Unless you really push ripeness and winemaking, it has a soft structure. Now you can build it muscular. Like this wine has some muscle to it. But you can make it soft. You can make it fruity. You can make it for a wine that you chill. You can make it in a style that you can chill. And you can do all these things with Gamay. It can be everything from muscular, but with its natural acidity, elegant, and to soft and fruity and fresh and fun, and everything in between. And we can do all that in Niagara effortlessly, which means it probably is suited for here.
Yeah, and I think if you look at Gamay that way too, because it's so nice and light, that it's also, you always think about Pinot Noir with turkey. I think Gamay is also a wine that could actually also do well with turkey and poultry and things like that as well.
100%. Poultry, turkey, or some game meats that aren't big and beef-like, like ducks. Colleague of mine just went bear hunting. I'm sure it'd be delicious with a bear hamburger. I've never had one of those, but
that could be even like venison. It's this is really, really beautiful, Gabe.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
it's
very soft and a little peppery even.
Yeah, it has some really nice pepper, pushing hang time and ripeness, building in some muscle with that 30-day skin and stem extraction. Just really trying to build long, tension-filled, integrated tannin structure, just something that shows well now, but really shows its potential to age.
And I think it's the first time I've actually tasted that peppery and smelled that pepperiness on the Gamay, which is what I would expect from a Cab Franc. But I love that. That's really fantastic.
Oh, wow. Thanks. Yeah, thank you
for letting us taste it before anybody else.
It hasn't come out yet. It's coming out in, I think, a month or two. But
yeah, and then speaking of Cab Franc, we're finishing up our tasting with a CSV Cab Franc.
Yes, the
Cabernet Franc.
Well, I think we passionately grow or make what we grow, and we grow 6 varieties. But I guess if you asked me to pour you 2 wines, I'd probably pour you the CSV Riesling and then a Cab Franc, and it would be this one. So we kind of lead with Franc and Riesling, and So this is just like the fact that we got here with Franc. We're all very excited about what that means is like established vineyards, bit of cultural practice that we're like proud of, and winemaking that we feel like this is it. This is like a statured Cab Franc you could pour at any table in the world, and you hopefully could have a conversation about it, and it'd show well, you know.
Yeah, it's so warm, and the nose on it is really interesting.
It's so similar in terms of the Gamay, foot stomped, a large portion of it foot stomped, caps immersed for 30 days, and then barrel aged for 2 years. And then this is just released like 6 months ago. It's been well received. Definitely a wine that will reward cellaring, but we definitely wanted to have it so that you could approach it in its youth and we could have this conversation, you know?
Yeah.
So
there's a fullness to it that's really beautiful.
We like to say we unapologetically make Cab Franc. We just make Cab Franc. We don't grow Merlot. We don't grow Cab Sauv. We grow Cab Franc, and we don't try to make it what it isn't. We ripen it and we make it. And this is Cab Franc from Niagara. It's like what I love about Cab Franc is when you pour it for anyone that comes from around the world, they're like, this is a unique expression of Franc. Like it doesn't remind me of anywhere. You have a very unique expression of Franc here. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do. And so like to have that effortlessly in Franc is just it's like a nice reward, I guess.
Yeah, effortless is could be the brand name.
Yeah, well, actually, not without effort, of course, because the vineyard team, the winery team, all the hours we put in. But of course, like
as we started our conversation with all the effort that you put into, like, you know, finding these yeast strains and all of the things that you're doing here. It's like, and then to have a wine that feels like, yeah, it just happened. That's quite the testament to what you're doing.
Thank you for that. We're like chefs.
Yeah.
You know, like the chef will put together this insane meal and that had like a team of chefs behind him or her. And it just looks effortless, you know. And that's a very high compliment.
Well, there you go. Well, Gabe, it has been such an absolute pleasure to speak with you about all of your innovations and to taste these wines in their infancy. And then the finished product is just, I just feel so privileged. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for coming and thinking of us to have this conversation. It's an honor. Thank you.
Well, you know, hey, we're doing what we can, right? But you know,
doing it.
So listener, when you're planning a trip out here, you've got to go to Cave Spring and come. There's two different experiences. You can go to the vineyard and have the tasting at the vineyard, but you also come here to Jordan Village. Go to the tasting room where there's so much history here as well. And you've got your choices of what you want to experience.
Both sites offer their own experience. The vineyard has its hikes at the base of the escarpment, which is a UNESCO heritage site, links to the Bruce Trail. It's majestic. And then the Jordan, of course, it has shops and art galleries and bakeries. And so it's two different experiences, both amazing. Do both, choose one, whatever you feel.
Yeah. So just be sure to go to our show notes and you'll see photos of the wines you'll see photos of the place, you'll see photos of the wines that we're tasting, and you know, you can learn more about all of this by just keep listening to Spill the Wine. Go to our website, spillthewine.ca, where we'll have a recap on the episodes as well. And don't forget to like and follow us on social media. On Facebook, we're Spill the Wine Podcast. On Instagram, it's _podcast, because we've got some really cool things to be coming up. So if you're going to be following us, that's going to be awesome. And if you have any questions or if you have wineries that you'd like us to visit, you can also send us an email at contact@spillthewine.ca. And that goes right to us. And we will be more than happy to answer your questions. Gabe, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And we just like to say, cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, Andrew.
We'll see you next time.
Cheers.